Hello everyone, this is Dr. Bo from Dr. Bo Career Booster. Today we're going to continue our how to improve your communication skills. The most difficult part, how to convince others to adopt your agenda. As a senior leader, I often find myself in a situation that I have to convince others about the firm's agenda or my suggestions. Those people could include my team members, my peers and collaborators, as well as the CEO of the company. So through the years, I have accumulated a lot of very practical tips how to convince other people with your agenda. And hopefully that will be helpful to you as well. The number one and the most important tips of successfully convincing others is trying to assess the situation before you even start. Trying to see what kind of personality the other person is. Is he or she positional or generally open-minded? And trying to assess what's the business context and situation could be, and what the other party could think of, why they think that way. Ample preparation before you start your agenda or start your meeting is the most important factor for successfully convincing others. The most difficult people to convince are those people who are positional. Those are people who have made up their mind before even come to the meeting. Those are people who have their own interests and their own agenda. Regardless of what data, facts, or logical reasoning you presented, they won't change their minds. There's very little you can do with them. The only tips I have for you is trying to identify those people as early as you can. If the other party is positional, and trying to get around it, and trying to talk to their managers or other team to collaborate. There are very, very little you can do with those positional and fixed-minded people. As I said, most of the people that I have worked with are great people. These are people who are genuinely interested in your ideas, and they're here to listen to you and trying to work with you to make a better business environment or business decision. And I hope that's the case for you as well. If so, here comes the second tips. Be as objective as possible and be as positive as possible when you're presenting your idea. Because those are your ideas, I'm sure there's strong feelings that this is your own baby. And that's a time for you to switch out this mindset and try to be objective and look at from the other people's perspective and see how they're gonna feel about it, how they're gonna adopt it, and what's the inputs from the other side. Objective and positive. Number 3, be a great observer. When you are presenting your agenda, and trying to observe your audience body language, tone of voice, and those non-verbal cues. And it's difficult, it's incredibly difficult because you are presenting your ideas, but try your best, and it comes with practice, to be observant as possible to the people who are listening to you. And that will give you clues if they are adopting your agenda or they're resisting it. And if they're resisting it, trying to change your tactics or try to change your angle you're trying presenting your idea, or maybe it's time to take a pause. Let them voice their view on what you just presented. So be a great observer. We talk about 3 simple tips of convincing others. Number 1, assess the situation before you go in. Number 2, be as objective as possible. Number 3, be a great observer. What kind of response you will get when you're trying to convince others to adopt your agenda? Number 1, most positive. People love it and will act on it. Bravo, great. Number 2, openly disagree. Start the debate with you. Number 3, and agree on the service, but after the meeting is done, no actions to follow up. So what will you do in either of the situations? Let's dive into it. The first most positive Great idea, we love it and we'll act on. And simple. And after meeting, and write an email to summarize the next action items and make sure we execute a great idea you presented. Now the second response, openly disagree with you and start a debate. This is time and to put on your detective hat and try to see why they disagree with you. Is it because they feel that you're missing certain data points? Or is it because they feel the logic behind your reasoning may not be as solid as it needs to be? I'm sure it's frustrated that they didn't high-five your suggestions, but that's a time to put your emotion aside and trying to provide additional data sets as well as explaining your logical reasoning again. I'm sure with the other side open-minded and you as well, you two will reach the same logical conclusion with evidence and data as well as a good heart together. If it's not because of missing data or logic behind your reasoning, the most common reasons people disagree with people is because emotion involved. You might have the greatest idea ever, but those people on the other side might have been doing the same old process for years. Now you're going to present a different alternative. Emotionally, it's difficult for them to accept immediately. That's a time for you to be empathetic, to think from their perspective. If you were them, how will you feel? Trying to connect with them emotionally and trying to show your understanding. You can say something like, you guys are doing great in the past 5 years and those process was really efficient. But however, technology has evolved. We have a better tools today. Will you open to take a look at the new tools? And that could save maybe 50% of your time. And with the extra time, you could look at other projects and it could bring efficiency to the firm and you guys are one who changing it. Well, the third scenario I'm gonna share with you, it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen and it happened a few times to me. When people disagree with you, some people are trying to avoid direct confrontation, so they start to shift. They start to shift subjects. When you're talking to them about subject A, they disagree with you, but they don't feel that they can have open discussion with you. They was trying to switch to subject B. And then when I follow up them to the subject B, they will switch to subject C. So when that happens, my suggestion for you is follow them first. Let them switch subjects. And then once you feel they have their time of speaking and try to bring them back to subject A. Don't let them get away with not to discuss the subject A with you because you're here trying to convince them with your subject A. Let them go, but bring them back. The third response you will get when you're trying to convince others was the people who agree with you on the surface during the meeting, but afterwards there is no actions to follow up. To me, that's the hardest and most costly to the company. So how do we deal with? Number one, you do want to have a follow-up checking meetings with those people, see how the project has progressed sooner rather than later, so you can identify the situation earlier. These kind of behavior, agree with you on the surface while not doing anything afterwards, is often a result of certain personalities. My suggestion to you is, one, openly discuss with them and on this issue. And if they dislike or disagree with you, and please encourage them to openly discuss and voice their opinion. And number two, and try to escalate to their managers because their behavior needs to be adjusted. Otherwise, it's really, really costly for the company. If both actions didn't result in a positive change, that's a time these people need to leave the company. Otherwise, it's too costly for the performance of the company. Thank you very much for watching, and today we share with you 3 simple tips for convincing others, including assessing the situation and be as objective as possible. And 3, be a great observer, as well as share with you 3 different possible scenarios of response. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to Dr. Bo for more tips for your career development.